Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elconin. Welcome to Pre-Market Info.
Well, it's a retailer type of day. Lots of retailers reporting earnings, but we'll get to those in just a second. Let's talk about the overall market because it's been a quiet overnight activity considering the huge rally we had yesterday.
Yep, the market opened up on its lows, closed on its highs, made a high yesterday of 15.19 and a quarter. We bumped up against that in the pre-market.
Yeah.
Just tight range. As long as we hold above that 15.15, I think we're good to go north. Let's not forget about Monday's high at 15.24.50.
Also have GDP coming out at 8:30, so on the show here in about 12 minutes or so, we will get you those numbers, and obviously we'll see if that's a market mover or not. Let's move on to the individual stocks here, Joel, because J.C. Penney, disaster quarter for that stock here. Again, bring up the overnight chart because it is not pretty. It is now trading at 17.5. Yeah, that's right. It was 21.16 it closed at. It is trading at 17.44 right now, making new lows again. They reported earnings missing huge. They're losing $1.95. They were only supposed to lose 18 cents. Their same-store sales were down 32%. You thought the same-store sales were bad last quarter or last month when they were down 30%. They topped and they're down 32% now. So just a disaster report for J.C. Penney.
I mean, that's the only way you could put it. I mean,
Disaster.
to miss by that much, by not pre-announcing or anything along those lines. Currently, just making new lows in the pre-market as we speak. 17.34 is the recent low. We're only at 17.41. Pretty good volume associated with this move too. So people are not happy with the retailer. Going to the dailies here. I mean, lo and behold, here we are. We're at the recent low, 17.36. So perhaps that would be a place that some shorts might want to think about covering. Also, a good indication is where this thing trades right. It's right till the market opens. Pre-market low. But there's your bogey, 17.36, folks.
Yeah, not pretty at all for J.C. Penney. I guess when I was in that store last week and I saw that it was a ghost town, I guess it wasn't just that store. It looks like it was across all of the stores. So, well, didn't they disappoint again? Let's move on.
Actually, this is not the actual low of the move though. The actual low of the move has been 15.69.
Where was that? 15. Oh, that was back in November. That was back in November of last year.
Yeah, that was back in November when there was a lot of pressure on it. But 17.10 was the low.
That's the 2013 low too, though. 17.36 is the 2013 low that you just pointed out. So it is a relevant number there, and we just bounced at 17.51. So we did bounce a little bit off of that low. So definitely keep that low in mind if you're trading J.C. Penney today. Groupon also reported earnings disappointed. They missed. They lost a nickel. They were supposed to make 3 cents. Revenues were light, 638 million versus 640 million. They also lowered their sales guidance for next quarter as well. Stock trading down significantly in the pre-market, $4.39 after closing up near the highs around $6. So kaboom! It's basically just gave back everything that it had gained in 2013 and then some.
Right, disastrous quarter here for Groupon. A little bit different of a pre-market chart here than you have in the J.C. Penney. You have had an initial drop of $1.50, but it seems to be finding some support here. The initial spike took us down to 425, and then the last couple lows have been in the 427 to 430 area. So you are finding some kind of support in Groupon at those levels. Looking at this longer term, I mean, it took a long time to get back up, and then all of a sudden it's right back down. Owners of this stock have to look at the $4 level as the next stopping point. You had a couple lows at 370, but I doubt we'll see that today. I'd say $4, good psychological support level.
Not pretty there. It's been a kind of disaster quarter here for all the retailers, it looks like here. We've also got Kohl's just reported KSS this morning. They beat $1.66 versus $1.63. So I guess this last quarter wasn't a disaster. But they are lowering the Q1 guidance just slightly, 55 cents to 63 they see now. Estimates are up at 62. But they're also lowering the full year guidance down to 415 to 445. Estimates are up at 451. So Kohl's is getting beat up on that lowered guidance, trading down near $45, down $1.50.
Right, Spike took us down to 44.99, and now 45 has been the bounce here. We're just sitting there, looking at this stock on a daily chart. Did have a nice run up, got over 48. Let's keep an eye on this low right here, 44.95, coinciding with the pre-market low at that $45 level.
Yep.
That was the low on February 5th. Below that, that 44 handle, boy, I wouldn't want to be long if this thing starts trading, 44.75, 44.80.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And we need to hold that whole 44.90 area. And if we do take out that low that you were just talking about, it is a vacuum area through the 44 handle, so it could quickly give up another 80-90 cents if we was to take out that area. But that's, and it's actually just sniffing through there right now because it's offered at 44.85. So it's right there at those lows looking. It might even happen during the pre-market. We'll have to see. Limited also reported LTD stock also trading down just slightly. They beat $1.76 versus $1.74, but again Q1 guidance here not that great, 40 to 45. Estimates were up at 51. So all the retailers basically lowering their Q1 guidance here today. Limited is trading down on that news. It's bounced a bit from where it was trading earlier. It just made a big pre-market low. You can see down there near the 43, and has actually bounced up and is trading 44.19 right now. Very thin though.
No one's shopping out there, huh? 43 pre-market low. Little volume traded there. You're getting a bounce up to 44.19, just kind of hovering there. I guess you got to go to the dailies to take a look at where the stock has been. You did see the low on just a couple days ago, 42.91. That coincides with the pre-market low. Below that, you might catch a little bit there at 42.77. So you have two tradable numbers there near the pre-market low, 42.77 to 42.91. So let's call 42.85 as your major support level. And then you have the low of the move at 42.49.
And then you got Sears Holdings also reporting SHLD. It's actually up, but the adjusted numbers are $1.12 versus 98. So they beat on an adjusted basis, but their actual numbers, they still lose $4.61 in this quarter. Just must be some one-time stuff in there. So I guess it's the adjusted numbers that do matter though, and it is popping the stock up $1 here. I just don't like it when I see you still losing $4.61. That's compared actually to the last quarter of last year in the same quarter where they lost $22 a share. So I guess it's improving when you're only losing actually $4.61. But on an adjusted basis, they did make money from their continuing operations of $1.12 and beat the estimates of 98 cents. And that is what's lifting up the stock in the pre-market.
That's just amazing. Lose $4 and
yeah, the actual number, yeah.
Kids ongoing concern. 49.50 was where the spike hit us in the pre-market. Since then, we've sold off down to the 48.50 level, finding minor support there. I think you're going to find good resistance even if we try and approach that $49 level. This stock has had a nice run. Let's look at that high that we had, 49.18. They did get through it a little bit in the pre-market. That was the high in February 20th, so that confirms major resistance. Coming back on the downside, minor, and I'll call that minor support at yesterday's high, 48.05. That fills the gap.
Domino's Pizza actually did beat for real, 64 cents versus 60. They beat on revenue too, 539 million versus 532 million. So DP Zebra actually approaching the highs of the move there. The high we set back on February the 1st was 47.91. We are right there right now in the pre-market at 47.90. Here's a stock that's approaching. That's a 52-week high for sure. Is that an all-time high? I think it might be an all-time high actually on Domino's Pizza.
good old Ann Arbor, Michigan
Man,
company
incredible.
seems to be baking things right. Let's look at the pre-market activity first. Bumping up here, 47.90. That's been the high print. Doesn't seem like anyone's willing to sell it there. Perhaps there would be some, some sellers, a nice round number like 48. But really, when the stock gets into this kind of mode, it's kind of hard to pick a top. If we go into a sell-off mode here, you find any support in this thing until you get back to yesterday's high, which was 47.26.
Yeah.
So that's not too far away. That's 70 cents away. So if it comes back in there, if you're shorting off the open, comes back into yesterday's high, 47.26. That's gonna be your first area of minor support.
You got that one bogey of the 47.91, and if it starts taking that thread, be very careful with shorting the stock. This thing could be at 50 in a hurry because this thing does march. What an incredible move, though. If you go back to the 2008 chart that you were just showing just a couple seconds ago, this thing bottomed in the financial crisis on November 30th, 2008. At $2.61.
Is that right?
Yeah, it is. Everything was going under back then, man. Everything was going under. It is right. There's your low right there. So $2.61 is now at $49. That's an incredible 2,000% gain or something like that. I can't do the math that quick. If it from the low of 4 years ago or 5 years ago during the financial crisis, that is just an incredible move. Usually when you see stocks, because it was like $35 in 2007. Usually when they see them go down to $2, they usually do go to zero. But Domino's Pizza, not the case, making new all-time highs. It's come back better than ever. A couple other ones just to highlight here. We are waiting on Barnes & Noble numbers. I have not seen them go by the tape yet, BKS. If they do go by during the show, we will obviously get you those numbers. Also reporting tonight, you have the Gap GPS. They're going to report it's trading up just a penny rate, or just 9 cents right now on 100 shares at 32.60. But interesting chart, lots of consolidation here in the gap in the last few days, basically between this 31.50, 33 area, basically for the last week and a half. So be interesting to see what the gap says tonight.
Yeah, major support in the gap here under the 31.50 level. We'll have multiple lows, 31.22 to 31.43, cap 3 out of the 4 lows. So finding major support here, still good to go to the upside on that. Close right near the high of the day here, 32.63 was the high of the 32.51 close. After that, things kind of open up to almost the $33 level. Had a high at 32.92 on February 20th.
Deckers also reports tonight. We'll maybe skip a technical on that one because we do have GDP just breaking here right now. Futures are a little bit choppy here. If you go back to the futures, Joel, a little choppy, but not much movement. We've dropped a buck here since GDP just came out just about 30 seconds ago, and weekly jobless claims breaking there too. So futures chopping around a little bit here. It looks like pretty muted activity, though. GDP up 0.1%, revised estimates. BBY also reports tomorrow morning. Your favorite stock there, Joel. 1650 is where it's trading at right now. Obviously, this stock's going to be probably have a pretty big move regarding whatever way these earnings are good or bad.
Found some major resistance just above 1750, double top 1770 to 1776, and now it's just been creeping down here. You get under this low that you had on the 15th, 1592, and it's going to be a quick drop down to the $15 level. The stock has gotten off the mat this year, has had a nice rally, one of the dogs that's been barking, so sure, the earnings are going to swing this thing crashing through the $16 level or up to test the highs at $17.50.
Let's look at a few stocks in the Big Ten, starting with the biggest of them all, Apple. because Apple had a pretty interesting. They had their annual shareholder meeting yesterday, and if you bring up yesterday's chart, it was really bouncing around between this 440 area and this 451. The day before, actually, similar range was around the 442, low 455. So really, this stock actually has had a pretty similar range for the last couple of days, 440 to 450. We're getting down there again. We're trading 443 right now. What do you think? You keep playing that 10-point range, or is eventually this 440 area going to buckle?
Boy, I tell you, this is well, first let's look at the high that we've had here in the pre-market, and that's been 445.79. So let's not even think about going long to that stock until we clear the 446 level. Just looking at the dailies, I mean, it's just kind of, we've always had these major support levels, 530, 500, and it hangs there, it hangs there. And usually, the longer that it hangs there, the more chance it is that it's going to go through. So if you're still trying to pick a bottom this, you have a bogey here at the double bottom and around the 435 area. You can stick with that. If it breaks through 435, you have to let things go. I guess if you want to draw a really steep trend line here coming off
you could do that
550 high, you can bring this all the way down and. Seems like we keep busting up against the top of it, but it just seems like this stock just can't get off the mat.
Yeah, it's just, and looking at the patterns. Not that we're pattern traders, but you did that head and shoulders there, left shoulder right there where you're pointing, and then the head up to 485 and the next head. So it's a little bit of foreboding chart pattern. Obviously, we've talked about this before from a fundamental perspective. It seems cheap, but cheap stocks sometimes get cheaper, and it's a little bit scary here just because it's consolidated here for a little bit too long. The only thing is the bogey. If you're shorting the thing, it's so scary to short it too, because what if they come out tomorrow and do something with the cash? So, the thing could pop 20, 30 points on, that fundamental news. Even though it was a good technical pattern, the fundamental news, makes it a bad trade. So I'm so scared to short the thing just because that potential that they do something with the cash.
Yeah, well, two highs at 451.54 2 days ago, and then 452.44 yesterday. Those are good levels. If you are shorting it, you gotta let it go if it gets back above that 453 level. One other stock that doesn't get much attention, but Microsoft had a nice rally yesterday. Stopped on the nice round number of 28. How many times are we going to hit this 28.20, this 28.23 level before we finally bust through and go to 28.25?
Yeah, unbelievable. This 28 to 28.20 is just full of resistance. Multiple highs there. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I count 13 highs between 20 and 28.20 in the last month and a half. So obviously resistance is very well defined, and support's starting to get well defined too. We used to trade in this range, this old 26.30. We were talking to the 27.80. Now we're trading really. We get into the low 27s. We're finding buyers. We get into low 28s. We're finding sellers.
Right, you did. I noticed this, and I was doing the levels for today's site. You did have three lows between the 27.33 and 27.37 area. You even had a chance to buy it at that area yesterday. So I'd say that 28.20 is eventually got to be tested. Market's a little bit weak today, so it might not get there. But boy, this thing has really been trading in defined range here. Really, if you go back to it. Since January, hitting at 28.23. We did slip under 27.20 here, but boy, it's winding up for a move.
The gold rally was short-lived there, Joel. Bring up your chart on your GLD, because obviously with yesterday's, with a couple days sell-off that we had, obviously gold got a nice spike there. We went from 152 the GLD up to over 156, but it gave a lot of that back yesterday. It's down another 40 cents here today, so as quickly as it was rallying, it looks like it's slowly starting to give it back here too. Obviously, you've got that counter trend trade basically. When the market's strong, gold starts to become weak, and that is exactly what we were seeing happen. Even in the gold, even in the individual stocks yesterday too, we were seeing weakness across the board.
Yeah, I mean, Big Bad Ben, whatever he says, really affects, the dollar and related instruments and gold and whatnot. You have two reference points on the downside if you're looking to enter a trade. You had the recent low at 150.84. and then you have the multiple lows around the 148.50 level. So if you're trying to buy it on the cheap again, those are the two levels to keep an eye on. Also notice a lot of these times when even when gold makes a pop, I mean these gold stocks are just having a hard time just getting off the mat. I mean, really,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a little bit of a rally in some of these, but
Terrible looking
it's just
charts. That NEM, go back to that NEM one. Like, let's be honest here. Gold has popped up here. Didn't give it all back. NEM gave the whole. It didn't get much of a rally with gold in the first place, and it closes right on the lows. You're right there, kicking around the 40.58, 40.44. You got a nice bogey here if you want to try to pick a bottom. 40.44 was the low on the 20th. 40.40 was it 40.40? No, 40.40, 40.51 was the low on the 21st, and then yesterday the low was 40.58. In the pre-market here is trading right there 40.62, so 40.40 is the bogey. If it takes that out, it probably maybe washes down to the 40 area, or even below that. So that NEM chart, not pretty that it's sitting here, but you got a reference point.
okay. And just going back to two stocks in the Big Ten. Market found support yesterday. So did J&J. Three lows right here in the 75.50 area. Found support again and lifting. Next major resistance point is the all-time high you have in this stock at 77.02. And PG, a stock that trades, similar fashion to that.
Bounce
Same
back day.
thing. Two lows there,
Yep.
75.70, 75.77. So you did get some low risk buy, opportunities off the open yesterday. But just going back to the market, Dennis, I mean, we made the high. We rallied up yesterday to 15.19 and a quarter. Touched that in the pre-market. What do you think? 15.15. That just seems like a weak number to me.
Yeah.
I think we fall below that. The close at 15.15.75. I mean, it's a weak number. I just don't see that 15.50 holding up. I see us perhaps sliding down to the 15.10 or 15.07.50 level for finding some support.
I think you will find buyers, though. If we do pull back, you have a lot of people that are kicking themselves now that they didn't buy on Monday or Tuesday when we got down to that double bottom, the 14.82, 14.83 area. Gave you two quick shots to buy on the cheap. And it's just the mentality. Every time we get a pullback, there are new buyers that are looking to get into this market. That's what happened. It quickly rallies, obviously, yesterday. Basically gets back the entire gains that it lost on Monday in one day. I think you're eventually going to find buyers here again, and we probably try to retest those highs. So I think the play is probably to buy the weakness as opposed to sell the strength. That's our show for today, guys. Have a great trading session, and we'll be back with you tomorrow.